All right, what's going on, people? Um, First off, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Hope everybody had a good day besides this game. Hope you got to eat a lot of good food. Hope you got to see some family members that you've been wanting to see for a long time. Hope everything on that front went well because this game was definitely the it was on the stressful side of games. I'll keep it honest. First off, before I even talk about the game, you well, yes, you can blame the refs for a loss sometimes. I won't blame the refs for this loss, but I will say that they made some horrible calls and non-calls at a lot of the pivotal situations while this still was a game. Um, the CeeDee Lamb pass interference call on Darnay Holmes was a phantom call on third down. On that same play, Kayvon Thibodeau is in a chokehold like this. He's in a chokehold like that's being held. Leonard Williams kept getting into the backfield and he kept getting grabbed. They kept grabbing his jersey from behind like this, grabbing his jersey from behind like that. Thibodeau the entire game was in the backfield, and while he was in the backfield, he was getting held like this the entire game. So the referees have got to do a better job. It's starting to look intentional for how they're calling these games as far as like not especially with the holding calls on our defensive linemen. We never get those calls. We got one today out of maybe, being honest, he probably held Thibodeau every single play. It was that bad for how bad it was with Tyler Smith against Thibodeau. He should not have been on him one on one, and he was the entire game, and he just got to get away with holding him the entire game. Um, some other calls I can't even remember, but there were just a ton of bad calls and bad situations, a ton of ticky tack fouls and bad situations. So that was just something I noticed, and it definitely affected my enjoyment of the game. Just from a football standpoint, I saw Eagles fans, I saw Colts fans, I saw all kinds of fans on Twitter talking about how annoying it was to watch this game because of how it wasn't being called fairly and how it wasn't being called, when penalties were occurring and how penalties that were non-penalties were getting called. That whole illegal formation thing, illegal man downfield thing, our offensive lineman was about this far past where he was supposed to be, and they threw that flag on that touchdown. Pivotal touchdown to start that game. Had a lot of momentum starting off. And I mean, those types of flags bringing things back, they, I mean, keeping it real, they will affect the game. And that's not saying that he didn't commit a penalty. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that I have seen a bunch of teams run that play and have multiple offensive linemen 6, 7 yards down the field and they don't call it. And it seems like with us, they're waiting to see until they get this far past that 3 yard marker that you can be as an offensive lineman down the field, and they throw that flag every single time. And then Daboll is just going livid. Every flag, Daboll is on the sideline like this, livid, yelling at the referees, yelling at his players. I mean, again, like I said last week, calm down, make adjustments, coach the game, anything but just yell on the sideline. And that's what I want to get to next. The coaching in this game. First off, the coaching got a gift at the beginning of this game. McCarthy decided to go for it on his own 30-something yard line. It was a dumb decision. They didn't get it, and we weren't able to take advantage. But they gave us a gift to start that off. Second of all, the Giants are playing Nick McLeod at cornerback. They were playing Cordell Flott, Rodarius Williams, and Darnay Holmes, who Darnay Holmes might as well be in the same category as those other players as far as players that you do not want playing. Um, those other guys, literally 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th corners that we have out there. And we got them out there playing, and we're leaving them in one-on-one coverage with CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup the entire game. I understand Wink wants to go after guys. He wants to live and die by the blitz. That's fine. Maybe mix it in, but every single third down, Dallas knows that they're gonna get blitzed, which is fine. It's worked all year. But every single third down, they know they're going to get blitzed, and it's man-on-man coverage. It's man-on-man coverage. You're not doing anything where you're disguising it and you're dropping a guy. It's man-on-man coverage. So that means Darnay Holmes one-on-one against CeeDee Lamb, which was most of the game. Rodarius Williams one-on-one, or Cordell Flott one-on-one, or Nick McLeod one-on-one against Michael Gallup. And they won that matchup pretty much 9 times out of 10. And then a couple of times where they didn't win that matchup, a flag was thrown, or for whatever reason, we got to stop. But it just was infuriating to watch Wink Martindale not adjust, not go to some sort of zone blitz, or just some sort of bump and run zone coverage, something to adjust to that, because they got every single third down. Every single third down after those first couple of times where Dak threw interceptions in the second half, 21-0 run. On that 21-0 run, they got every single third and long. Also, before I go to the players, the coaches, I will tell you, these past 3 weeks, I have not felt good about the coaching after every single game. The Houston game, I talked about it, and people got mad at me. People got mad at me for saying this. I said, we're running Saquon too much. We're running the ball entirely too much. All we're doing is wearing out Saquon and running the ball unnecessarily. The Houston game, we should have won by 14, 15 points at least. And we just continue to run the ball, run the clock out, just run the clock out, giving the ball to Saquon, just churning out those short yardage runs. Saquon right now looks completely exhausted. He looks completely exhausted. He looks spent. He looks like he's had his season's worth of carries and he's done. So what does that show you for his future? He's probably not a guy that you can give this many touches to over a season. He's just not that guy, because he's not looking like the same guy he was a month ago. He just doesn't look like the same guy. He's also not getting blocked for as well, but he also doesn't look like that same guy. And yeah, you wear the guy out when you just run it over and over again with no variation, and you don't use your backup running backs. That's what happens. You're going to wear the guy out. So again, the coaching in the Texans game was questionable. The coaching last week was questionable. And the coaching this week was questionable. So that's just something I noticed. Mike Kafka, again, sticking with the run, living and dying by the run. Wink not adjusting. Daboll is responsible for all of that. The special teams missing easy times to be able to down the ball inside the 5. That's players, but that's also coaches. Just a lot of little things. Illegal procedure penalties every single week. 2 or 3 times a week, we got men downfield. We got illegal formation. We got something going on where you can attribute to coaching. So these coaches really got to look in the mirror. They cannot go in every single week with the same game plan. And they were making so many adjustments in the first part of this season. They were making so many adjustments. And every second half, we came out with a different game plan. And it seems like now we just keep the same game plan the entire game. There's no way that Daniel Bellinger is that important to this team where we can't run our offense without him blocking. We got to figure out some other way to win. Hopefully Bellinger comes back soon, but still, we just have got to make some adjustments on the coaching style. I'm not one of those guys that's going to say all of a sudden we can't coach. Brian Daboll goes from coach of the year, runaway, to all of a sudden he stinks. He needs to get fired. I'm not on that train yet, but it's something that needs to be addressed going forward. Next up, the players. First of all, we're just at a player deficiency on defense. So many injuries. The linebackers to start were not that good. Jalen Smith is good in spots, and then he's bad in spots, and he's good in spots, and he's bad in spots. Same thing with Tate Crowder. Micah McFadden's got a lot of potential. I mean, not like he can be a star, but he's got potential to be at least a good run player. But either way, those linebackers were consistently out of they were out of place. They were out of place, out of position all day. They were getting blocked at the point of attack. They weren't able to tackle. The interior defensive lineman, besides, if you're not named Dexter Lawrence and you're not named Leonard Williams, you can't stop the run at all. It's open season right up the middle. Ellis, Nick Williams, trying to think of the other guy's name, but those three defensive tackles, every time they get in, they're on the ground. They're getting run right at. They can't stop the run. It's awful. So first of all, we're at a player deficiency there in the run game. The players that are not bad players, they got to make the plays that are there. Like Darnay Holmes cannot be the one that's messing up when uh you got Pinnock over here, you got McLeod over here, you got Flott over here, you got Rodarius Williams over here, and you're supposed to be the vet and the by far the best player, the only player that was looked at as a starter day one. You got all those players out there. You can't be the player that's getting cooked. You cannot be the player that's getting cooked when you got all of those guys out there. That's first off. A couple of times where guys just missed tackles. I think Julian Love missed a tackle, a horrible miss. Kayvon Thibodeau had a time to bring down Dak for a sack, and he just didn't wrap him up. A ton of times, guys just didn't wrap people up. Same thing with Leo, I think, once on Dak. Same thing with Tay Crowder a bunch of times, I think. But just seeing it, we have got to stop going for strip sacks, or not strip sacks, but strip forced fumble attempts on these players because they're constantly shrugging these tackle attempts off and getting extra yards. And Dallas, pretty much every time they ran the ball, they were either going to get stopped for negative yards, get a yard, or they were going to run for like 12 yards. So it just shows we were not able to stop their run game at all. Pretty much, if they ran it every single play, they would be able to just go down the field and score. The tight ends, they destroyed us today. They could not cover the tight ends, even with corners and safeties. They outran our safeties across the field. We couldn't cover the receivers, of course, as I mentioned. So it's just a lot of deficiencies on the players. Some just making bad mistakes, and some just not having the horses to make those plays. I do think that Wink needs to make a bunch of adjustments. You cannot go all out blitz every single third down and long when you're getting beat every single third and long. Every single time, you got to switch it up, man. If you're going against Jared Goff, fine. If you're going against a guy that you just don't think is that guy, fine. But he did cause 2 interceptions in the first half, but he also, this entire second half, was getting cooked third and long after third and long after third and long after third and long every single time. I don't have the stats in front of me, but they were ridiculously great on third down. So this Giants team is on the downside right now, of how they're playing. It's all about how you played the last month of the season, and if you look at our last month, we are 1-3. 1-3. Lost to the Seahawks. Lost to, and I say month, I mean our last 4 games, not counting the bye. Lost to the Seahawks. Beat the Texans, which are the worst team in the league. Lost to the Lions, which is a hot team. Lost to Dallas, which is a hot team. But guess what? All we got is hot teams coming up. We got Washington coming up. They're a hot team. We got Eagles after that. And then we got Washington again. So we cannot just use that as an excuse. We got to go out there and we have to execute with the players that we have. And we cannot continue to beat ourselves. And we got to get some of these calls too from the referees. But other than that, happy Thanksgiving. I didn't go too far in depth about Daniel Jones. I mean, he is what he is at this point. He's got to have some better touch on these fourth down throws, on these short yardage throws. You got to hit these guys in stride. I understand you have people, that are coming right at you, but you got to hit these guys because Saquon should have caught that, but you also should have made that throw. They both let us down today in some key spots. But it is what it is. If the rest of these players step it up, Daniel Jones will step it up. But I'd like to see us. I'd like to see us make some adjustments going forward. Is Odell going to come here? And I'll close this out with this. I highly doubt it. It looks like he's a Cowboy through and through. And I mean, whatever. God bless him. Let him go to Dallas. I'm not going to be rooting for him. That's going to be. He's going to be off my list if he goes to Dallas, of players that I'll be rooting for. Just keeping it real with you. But again, you guys have a great Thanksgiving. Have a great rest of your Thanksgiving. There's a night game today. Enjoy that. Enjoy your family. Be thankful for your health while you still have it before the Giants take it away. But I'm gonna get out of here. Hopefully we can get this win and bounce back next week.